So I joined the Pokemon Go regionals in Liverpool for 2023. I did not place. I didn't place very high. I played one match. The one thing I noticed is you got to be careful. You got to be very careful if you're a non-experienced player or a non-experienced PvP Show 6 player, regional player. You have to be very careful with what you do and how you do things. Operating yourself in a normal manner is pretty much how things work. But actually, when it comes to it, there are certain things I noticed. As it's the main point that I'm trying to get at is when I did my first battle, there was lag. It is what it is. We know that. You could tell the area that you battled to start with before you went into the winning bracket was very much just like it was the worst area. And if you could get through it, then that was cool. Didn't, is what it is. These tournaments don't always check these things out. Maybe they do. Maybe it's a good place to stick the losers brackets just to keep everyone really on their game. After my match, I know for a fact that me and my opponent were running about 40 minutes over the first set. So the first matches went to go, and then we were about 40 minutes over very easily because of lag and everything. It was insane. The amount of matches we had to do just to be able to get through, just to be able to log in. It was insane. As soon as my matches were done, I heard them call. They had two brackets that were called. It was the winning A brackets and it was the losing F brackets. I was in the losing F bracket, and as soon as I heard that, they had already said if you cannot log on to the tournament page, please find a judge. So I found a judge straight away, lady standing right next to the judge's table. And I asked, has the F bracket been called? I'm in the losing bracket of the F bracket and I will be battling them. She said, no, they haven't been called. Now in my mind, I've just heard A winners and F losers, but there's so much going on, it's so busy, I'm willing to take my judge's words as gospel because I'm in Liverpool. I'm at a regional event. I have no real idea of what I'm doing. I've never been here before. So I'm like, okay, cool. You're the person I listen to. I'll listen to you. I decided to go and get a sandwich. I walked down to the bottom of the hall. I grabbed myself a sandwich. I come back up. When I come back up, I look and my page is finally loaded in Dutch, but it's finally loaded enough to tell me that I have a disqualification. So I've gone straight to the same judge thinking, this isn't right. I've literally just been here no more than 5 minutes. I've come up to her and I said, this just says I'm disqualified and you've just told me that my group wasn't called. That seems a bit weird. And I've kind of put the ball in her court, whereas what I should have just done is said, you said this, you said this, you said this, got her to agree, and then the show her go, now I'm disqualified. That's what I should have done. But what I did is I put the ball in her court. She said that, so I showed her. I said, I've been disqualified, I don't really understand what's going on here. And she very much stuck on her words. And at that point, she said, I'm sure it was someone called Tom. I did the announcement 10 minutes ago. And I was like, well, I was here. I was here for that the whole time. So I know that I had to call out. That tells me that my judge then said something that wasn't correct. Now, I don't think the judge did it deliberately. I think maybe there were too many people asking questions. Maybe she got confused on some information. That happened, but that cost me my placement. Because I'd lost my first match, I was then in the losing bracket, so if I was to take a disqualification, I'm straight out of the match. So that was my regional experience pretty much over, apart from the side quests and things like that was going on, which were fun in the end by the time I pulled myself back out of my own little rabbit hole. But that wasn't fun. So what I wanted to do was I wanted to make sure that everyone understands, when you go to regionals, if you don't check yourself, you will wreck yourself. Now, I'm sure anyone watching my video will just below, just talking words, but I'm pretty sure that anyone that was actually at the regional who remembers when the brackets were being called out, which is going to be very few people. But if they were an A or F, if you were an A or F and you were an A winning or F losing, you got a chance to remember that it was A winners and F losers that were called together, and that was on the second go, and that was a loss. That was the disqualification that I took because I wasn't there in time. My opponent was able to take it. If there is a call out, because they said they call people out, I heard maybe 3 call outs. Okay, maybe 3 call outs over the intercom, 4 potentials. The most call outs I heard were please put your mask on. That's what they were a lot saying. So when it comes to it, I do feel that they're not happy, but they're not unhappy about just letting numbers slide. So if you're going to join the regional tournament, stock up before you go, smoke before you get inside, eat before you get there, wait until lunchtime, do not move, stick to a judge, stay to the judge's table, don't leave until you get your next match. because that's the only way you're going to get through. Myself, as someone who I'm a media player, I've enjoyed myself, but I want to push myself, I want to get myself a bit further, and I committed, you know, £200+ just to get myself to Liverpool and make these things happen. And then by the time I sat there in a match in, and then suddenly I get disqualified over something that I felt that I'd covered myself on. So when it comes to it, just cover your ass, cover yourself. Don't let these things happen to you. There were 40, I think it was around 40, there was 40, just a bit more. 40 people were disqualified from the 2023 Liverpool regionals. 40 plus were disqualified. We counted it at that time. We checked how many people were disqualified, and you can suddenly see how the disqualifications are very much a way of the judges clearing the board. Because if you're not in there in 2 minutes, bang, 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 bang. And now anyone can turn around and say, well, you know, you had a 2-minute window. If you have been to a regional event, you'll understand that it's not just Pokemon Go there. You can't base it on the fact that, you know, oh, you had 2 minutes, so you had to be there. It's quite a big building. You've got to get from one side to the other sometimes. You don't know what's going on. It's all going on. Yeah, okay. You have 3 different events going on. Everything is really quite loud. The event sizes are reasonably, the event buildings are reasonably big. But there's a lot going on. But the easiest place to do was to get into the building. Once you got in the building, you don't know where your table is, because you've got a QR code you need to scan. When you scan that QR code, it takes you to the tournament website. Which is great, it takes you to the tournament website. Only problem is 98% people in the building cannot load the tournament website. And if they can, it's in Dutch, and you still can't get to your placing. So that means you're spending half an hour standing in a queue, trying to talk to a judge. To say, I can't log in, where am I going? And then I find your name and go from there. So there's a lot of miscommunication, and again, I don't think they're really that fussed about miscommunication, because I think what that does is it does keep the numbers running a bit faster. Gets things getting a bit more smoother, because once a judge has made a decision, we all know there's no changing it. So even though I had turned around and said, you said this to me, you told me that the F losers had not been called, but it's very apparent A winners and F losers, because I said it like that, because then I knew she'd be like, because she said that Tom had called it. She was like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. Tom did call that, but I didn't speak to you. So there was complete disregard of talking to me 10 minutes prior and everything. So it just felt, at that point, I was like, right, okay, cool. So this is how we play this then. And then it was like, I hope you enjoy the rest of the event. How am I meant to enjoy the rest of the event? I've just been disqualified because of your mistake. And the tournament's event and the event's mistake. So what's that all about? So definitely a nag. Went to a regional, and I really wasn't happy, but I've actually walked down, and do you know what? That's the one main bit I wasn't happy about. There are some bits I was happy about, and I was more unhappy about the fact that I wasn't standing there at all times, so I could say, no, you're wrong, my placement is now, I need to sit down, where am I sitting? Because then I would have, if I was that person, I would have sat down and I would have just beaten someone up, and I would have got myself back into those winner brackets. But my opponent was someone who was on my friends list. We had already reached best friends, and I'd stopped sending guests for so long, so they had decided to drop me as a friend to add someone else, which is more than acceptable. But it turns out they were luckily sat in front of me, which was quite amusing. So Epic Snail 24/7 was my opponent, someone who I have reached out around the world and connected to, and found out he lives a village away from me. Good old Twitter. That was always fun. But he had some good plays. He had some good lines, and he was just honourable. The way he played, there were certain parts that he did, and after our first match and after all the lag and stuff like that, he was just like, no, let's please do something else, because I promise you my line will beat you up. And it was like, okay, I see what you're saying, let's go from there. And we were both able to work off each other and really pull our full potential. And he was very lucky to win, and I was very unlucky to lose, I feel. I think that was the best way. And I think if he sees this, he'll probably agree as well. I do wish him all the best, because I do hope to meet up with him again in the future. But you never know. GBL always holds these cards close. You know, you could meet anyone. You could meet your next door neighbour. You could meet someone in New Zealand. You never know. But it is what it is. You come away from these things, and you come back with a different perspective of what you're doing and how you're doing things. So that's exactly what I've done. That's exactly what I'm doing. We're coming out and we're going back stronger. And that's exactly what we're going to do. So I'm hoping maybe we're going to see some more of that winning bracket this time around. That'll be really cool. So I'm going to aim for the winning bracket, go from there. And as always, make sure to have fun. because that's what it's all about. Because if you're not having fun, don't do it. But as always, GG's to all my opponents. I wish you the happiest of ELO hunting, and I'm sure I'll see you soon. Good luck going to any regionals. Do have fun. Just make sure to watch yourself, because along with me and 40 plus others, it's not how we want to go down. And I can tell you now, over half of those people did not do anything wrong. And they didn't. They're feeling bad because they got disqualified, but actually they didn't actually do anything wrong, and quite a lot of them were in the first round. First round, pop. First two rounds, there's a lot of pops, there's a lot of people broken down, and it feels very much Judge Archangel situation. But it is what it is. We're going to go in April 2023, and we're going to cause some damage, and we're just going to stick next to a judge and not go anywhere. # watch this space. In the style of coming back stronger, we are breaking down our team core and making sure that we're coming in as strong as possible. What we will be doing is building and redeveloping our team core of 6. I'm pretty sure I'm only going to change about 2 Pokemon, because I'm happy with the core I have at the moment with the meta that is currently out. We're not looking at going crazy. We are going to stick to a big meta line because we felt comfortable with it when we were playing and when we were training. It's all really good breaking it down and enjoying it like that and putting that high note. But now is the point of the video where I get to ask you to like and subscribe. So go do that. GG's to everyone, have fun, and peace out.